Hi everyone, this video is a short video to show you how you can use your graphing calculator to find roots. So we're going to take a look at how to find square roots, cube roots, and some other examples that you will see in this lessons and other lessons as well. Before I can start telling you guys how to use the calculator, I'm just going to go over some terminology so that when I say those words, it does make sense. So for your reference, this is starting with your first lesson in your course, and I'm going to be using some examples from the page numbers listed below. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is that what does radicals mean? So when I'm talking about square root, cube roots, and some of the words that I will be using here. So when you see a number like this one, square root of 52 or cube root of 71, we're talking about this entire number and what it will represent. That's what we're going to try to find out. The tiny number inside is what tells us whether it's a square root, cube root, fourth, fifth. That's why we call it on this number, and it's called index. This here is a radical sign, so this over here is a radical sign. And the number inside is the one is called a radicand. And the entire thing is called a radical number. So these are examples of radical numbers. So the first example over here is an example of square root. In this case, you'll notice that the index is not here. It seems to be invisible. So whenever we are taking a square root with a root of 2 in there, we don't write it. Just like you have seen in previous math, when you see x, we know there's an invisible 1 in front of there. You can put it there, but we don't generally. So we don't put that 2 in there. If you don't see an index, you need to know that it's a 2. Every other index, like the one here, is shown. So because this little tiny number is 3, this will be called a cube root. These two are the most common ones that you will see in math, but not the only ones, as you will see in examples I will show earlier. But those are the two that you need to be most comfortable working with, whether it's in the calculator or by when we're doing this manually on our own without the use of a calculator. So I have some examples that in the lesson that they come up that we will learn how to find using the calculator. The calculator that I have a computer version of is just TI-83, as you can see, plus. You can use TI-84, TI-85. The functionality is almost the same. There are some things, and I will try to let you guys know when they're different. The later versions, 84, 85, are just better. So nothing to be afraid of it if you have another version of a calculator. If you have TI-83 even, or 84 plus, we're on the same page here. There are also some calculator apps that are also available that you can use. So do ask me in class if you are interested in that, and I can suggest that. So the first example that I want to show over here is the very simplest one. Like I said, it is the square root of 64. So mind you, because this is invisible, there's a 2 here. That's why it's called a square root. And the radicand here is 64. So how do we find this using our calculator? Now, the method I'm showing, it's not the only way to do it, but it's the most common ones to do it. So that's why I'm going through it. If you have another way of getting these answers accurately, you are free to use that another method as well. So I need to put this in, and where can you see this? Because like I said, these two are the most common. You can actually find them as one of the buttons on your calculator, and it is right here, the square root, but it's not as a front button, it's a back imprint on that plastic part, and it's in yellow. So for me to get that, I would have to press this button, the second button. It's almost like saying it's on the second floor. So I need to first hit that, and then put this button here, and you'll see the square root sign comes up. And now I can put in 64, close my bracket, and press enter. So the answer will come out to be 8. Now for some of you guys with a higher number calculator, that little wall when you type in, this top wall will just keep going, which is okay. So it may show up as once you put it like this, your number may show up inside it, which is fine. You just need to press enter. If you want this little roof part to stop coming, you just want it to be out of that, just press this button. Once you press this side arrow button, this top part will stop. So you will get out of the radical mode. You may need this later when you're doing a little bit higher calculator functions with this. So if you want to stop, you want this to end here and you want to move out of it. So for example, if you wanted to find square root of 64 and then you want to say +2, if you don't press that side arrow button, it will keep doing this. So if your number is showing up underneath that line, you do need to press that side button, this button, for it to get out of that roof part. In TI-83 and 83 Plus, that doesn't continue, as you can see, but we do have to close the bracket. So that's the difference here. So again, how do we do this? We go second squared, and then you put in what the radicand is, what's inside. And once you have that, I close my bracket and I press enter. And it gives you my answer. So what is the answer to square root of 64? The answer to square root of 64 is 8. Sometimes you will get a nice whole number, and sometimes you will get decimals. If you get decimals, there will be instructions in the question asking you to round to a certain decimal point. Now, all square roots are done that way, super easy. But if you look for cube root, what my second example is, you'll see that nowhere on the top of my calculator does the cube root show up. So where do we find the cube root? We find this actually under the math key right here. And then it is number 4. So you can either scroll down and press enter, or you can just hit option number 4. And now once again, I will put in my radicand. It's still 64 in this example, and it will give me the answer and the answer to that is 4. So that's how you do cube root. Again, if you need, you can always pause back into the video and watch that part again. To do anything with a higher root, like the 5th, 4th, 5th, 6th, we still go to the math, but before, and this we need to do especially for TI-83s, we need to first type in our index because it doesn't have a button in there for anything higher. It only has this one mystery one. So this can be anything. So it can be the 4th root, the 5th root, the 6th, any of them. So how do I tell it? So you need to first put your index in, then go in math, and then pick that option, number 5. Now the calculator thinks that this is the 5th root. So whether you're looking for a 5th root, a 4th root, a 6th, anything higher than 3, you will have to first type in that number. In other higher TI-83, 84 numbers, that number will automatically pop in just like this did here. But for TI-83, it's going to stand outside. And now I can type in 32. So this will come out to be just a 2. So remember, if you want to do any example, even if it's the 4th root of, let's say, 64, you will need to put in the number 4 first, then go into the math, pick option number 5, and then pick that one with the missing X. That's the way you will make it think that you are talking about the 4th root. So this is how you put in square root, cube root, and any higher roots. Now you will find that there are some places where there is a number in front and then it's multiplied by this. So there's an invisible multiplication, so 10 times the fifth root of 32. The way I like to do this question is I like to find out what the fifth root of 32 is first, which is 2, and then I multiply it with 10. So I like to always find my radical part first, and then I will find the answer. So like I said, I will do this part first, get the answer for it, and then do the multiplication. I find this to be the simplest way to do it, but you can always do another way. How do we do with radicand fractions? Now this looks scary, but don't worry, we have a calculator to help us here. If you have, you're taking a square, cube, or any other root of a fraction, the best way to do is to split it into numerator and denominator. So find out what this is. So I would go in my calculator. I can go the fourth option, 512. It tells me the answer to that one is 8. And then I will do the same thing for the denominator. So again, since this is a cube root, and I put in the other radicand, you can see I didn't close my calculator, my brackets, and it still gives me the same answer. And here is my fraction, it gives me 7. So I would do this separately, and then if I need to reduce it, we all know how to reduce our fractions. But this seems to be the simplest way to deal with when our radicand, this number inside, is a fraction. Split it in the numerator denominator, find them, their answers separately, write them down, and then if you need to reduce it, you can always reduce it afterwards. Hopefully this helps you to be able to do the calculator part of the radicals. Again, if you have any questions, you're always welcome to ask me in class.